Welcome to Lilium Tutorials. Today I'll be showing you how to fly in Blender 2.8. So first, you're going to need to have a tripod for the way we're going to be doing this. And you need to record two videos. One with your character in it and one without. So here are my videos.
Go.
So we have our character posing and then jumping. And then we have our background video. Here we have
I gotta film another one
no
now.
character, but it's the exact same shot. So now we're going to go to Blender. You can just click anywhere on the screen to get out of the splash menu. We're going to go to Compositing. Check Use Nodes. And we're going to get rid of this by clicking X on the keyboard. Now we're going to add the video clip by clicking Shift and then A. And then go to Input and Movie Clip. Add that there. I'm going to click on Open. We're going to go to Desktop, which is where I saved the video. We're going to click on the video with the character. I named it Foreground. And click Open Clip. Now, you won't be able to see anything yet. So we're going to add a viewer node. Click Shift A to add. Go to Output and click on Viewer Node. And then clicking around the screen to put it there. Now we're going to connect these two by clicking on the image yellow dot and dragging it over to the image yellow dot on the viewer. And now you'll see our video shown. If your video does not show, make sure you click on the backdrop and have it enabled. If it's like this, make sure you click on backdrop to enable it. We're going to zoom out by clicking V on our keyboard. You can also zoom in by clicking Alt V on your keyboard. And you can move it around by clicking Alt and the middle mouse wheel to move around the video. Now that we've done that, we're going to go to the Rendering tab. We're going to go over to where it says Browse Image to be linked and click on the Viewer node. And now we're going to go over to View, click on it, and make sure it's selected Mask. This way we can create a mask around the character and everything else will be edited out. And you click New to create a new mask. You can label it by clicking on the mask and label it. And now we're going to scroll through this video by clicking here and dragging it up a little bit. And we're going to click along these until we find where the character takes off. You can also use the arrow keys. You might not be able to move around unless you have your mask enabled. We're going to keep going. So our character starts to take off at about frame 122. Remember that? And we need to go to where we want our video to end. We're going to pick the end place by when he starts to come back down and land. So at about 125, we'll do 126. Go to the end and type in 126 and enter. And that way it'll end the video when we want it to. Now let's go back to where we where we want to start. I think we'll do 122. Now we're going to create a mask around this character so we can then make him fly. So we're going to zoom in by scrolling with the middle mouse wheel this time and moving around by clicking on the middle mouse wheel. We're going to go to the top, click and hold on Control, and left click around the character. And the more clicks you have, the more difficult it'll be in the end, because you'll have to move this mask around in a little bit. So we're going to try to use the minimal amount of clicks, but where it'll still look good. And once you reach the end, we need to click the two nodes and click on Alt-C to close mask. We're going to zoom out. You can see how we did. So here you can see there's still some of the sky in the background. It doesn't have to be perfect because we'll be having this character moving and we'll blur him in the end. So here we'll have a little bit of blue on it. That's fine. So once you finish that, you're going to click I on your keyboard to insert a keyframe, and then click on the right arrow key to move over. Now we move all this mask back over our character. The quicker way to do this is you can click on B on your keyboard to box select, drag a box around the parts of the mask you want to move, and click G on your keyboard, and you can move them all at once to quickly align it. And you go through and continue editing. Okay. And when you've reached the end of where you reach the end frame, you will go through and you'll see that it should match up to all of them. And make sure that you clicked I to insert a keyframe each time you finished doing your frame. Okay. So now here's where we started, but here's the frame right before it. You'll be able to see that it's not lined up anymore. And we could go through and line up all 126 frames, or we could just do the 4 we did. So we're just going to move this and disable it for now. So we're going to click A 1 to 2 times on your keyboard, and then G on your keyboard, and move the mask out of the way. And then click left click on your keyboard. Make sure it's all the way out of this frame. And then click I on your keyboard. That way it stays like that. So all the frames before this will have the mask out of the way. And when we reach our frames where it starts, it'll move back. So that's how you're going to set up the masking for your video. Okay, let's back to the beginning. So now you can go over to Compositing, and we're going to enable the mask here. So click Shift A to add. You can go to Input and select Mask. I'm going to zoom in by scrolling with the middle mouse wheel, and then clicking on these 2 circles where it says Browse Mask to be linked, and click on our character mask. Now we're going to add this mask to a converter, and it's going to convert everything around the mask into an alpha channel. Click Shift A to add. We're going to go to Converter and Set Alpha. If you can't find it, you can just type into the search bar Set Alpha. And click Enter. And you'll just place the node next to the mask node and connect the two. And then now you can drag this output image to the viewer node. And right now it should be white. That's because you need to put the image needs to be connected to the movie clip, and the alpha needs to be connected to the mask. So now each of those frames should have just the character, and the rest will be an alpha channel. Okay, now we'll go to where we moved the mask out of the way. You'll see that it goes blank. So we need to go back and fix that. You go to Rendering, and then on the frame where the mask is blank, you're going to go to Mask, and where it says Opacity, there'll be a restricted view. You're going to click on this, and it should bring back the original footage. Now we're going to click I on the keyboard. But first you gotta hover over it, and click I on the keyboard, and it'll change color. And now you move to the next frame. We need to change it back to how we originally had it by hovering over it, clicking it, and while we're hovering over it with our mouse, we're going to click I to insert a new keyframe. So now, if we go back one, it should change back. Every frame before it should be the original video. And when we go to where we have the mask, it should be converted for the background to be an alpha channel. So back to our compositing, make sure it works the same, and it does. And now we're going to add the background back again, but add a separate video. So go to Shift A, go to Input, Movie Clip, and drop that off. Click Open, move back to your desktop, and we're going to select the blank footage, the background footage where there's no character, and click Open Clip. Once you've done that, you can drag this node down so it's visible. And now we're going to connect these two by going to Shift A, and go to Color, and Alpha Over, and drop it in the middle. And now you see it'll be covered with white. So we're going to take the movie clip where the background is, drag the image, and place it into the top image. If you place it in the bottom, it'll cover up your character and you'll be able to see the character. So we're going to place it in the top. And now you'll see it's all fuzzy and blurry. So you can click up here and check Convert Primo. And that'll make it one background. So now you have the background so far set up. Now, the one thing you're going to want to do is make your character fly by moving the character. So you can go to Shift A to add. You're going to go down to Distort. And then you're going to go over to Transform. Click it. And you're going to drop it in between Set Alpha and Alpha Over. Now, nothing will happen. But here you can change the X and Y axis. And that'll move your character either up and down or left and right. You can change the angle of the character, so you can change it through 360 degrees, then you can scale it so it'll be different size. So you're going to want your character to go up on the y-axis. You want to go up. So you're going to increase the number from 0, and we're going to click on it and drag it to the right. And you'll see it starts to move higher. So we're going to move it up a little bit. Now we're going to move it to the left just a little bit because he was moving over. And once we think that'll be a little bit for his takeoff, I'm going to lower the y-axis a bit, maybe to 100. We're also going to change the scale. So we go from 1 to 0.8. Change the scale, new character should shrink or grow, depending on which way you changed it. And we're going to hover over the X and click I to insert a keyframe. That way, this won't change for this frame. Hover over the Y, click I for a keyframe, click on the angle, click I for a keyframe, hover over scale, and click I for a keyframe. Because when you go back one, you'll see it's also been changed. So I'm going to change the X-axis back to 0, otherwise it'll fit in a funny way. Enter. The Y-axis to 0, enter. Angle to 0, enter, and scale back to 1, enter. And you should hover over, and once it changes back, hover over each of these and click I on your keyboard so that every frame before it will be set just like this. And then the frame to over one, you'll see he changes a little bit. I think he changed his size a little too quickly. So we're going to change it, instead of scale at 0.8, we're going to change it to 0.9. Click enter. Hover over it and click I to set as a keyframe. And then go over one. And we're going to move the x-axis left some more. Probably double the number. Would probably be a good way to go. So it was 80, so we'll go to 160. And the y, we're just going to drag that to however we think would fit nice. And the scale, we're going to change to 0.8. So it looks like he's going farther away. And we're going to continue. So we're going to pick a frame where we think he starts to move kind of quickly. So we're going to move back a little bit. Not there. We're going to do it here. So we're going to click Shift A to add. We're going to go to Filter and select Blur. If you can't find it, you can search it. Drop it off into here. So let's go to the frame before it. Set the X and Y blur to 0 and put the click I on the keyboard to insert a keyframe. That way it stays like that for nodes before it. And when you want to blur, we're going to change the Y blur because since he's going up and down. Let's pick a good number. And then click I on the keyboard again to insert another keyframe. Let's see if that's how you want to leave it for the rest. I'm going to leave it at that one and there. Now right here moves really quickly. So we're going to make it a little more blurry. And that's too much. We're going to leave it at 55. Insert a keyframe. And now since I didn't insert keyframes for each of these, it'll automatically slowly make them individually at the perfect size to change it consistently. I don't want that. So I'm going to take the Y coordinate for the original one we had, which is 17, and go through a bit to where the one right before our finish blur, and add that as 17 as well, and insert a keyframe there. It'll go from normal to really blurry pretty quickly. Now we're going to, now I think I'm about done here, so I'm going to export it now. So make sure you have the end and start keys set at the proper number. Okay, and then when you're ready to render it, you can go over to here where it says output properties, click on it, make sure it's the frame rate you want it to be at. Here's the last chance to check the start and end. And then you'll scroll down, select the file location, where you're going to save it to the desktop. You're going to name it. And then click accept. You go to the file format and change it from a PNG, which is an image, to an FFmpeg video. Then you're going to go to the encoding. Instead of the container being Matroska, you're going to select it to MPEG-4. And then once you're finished, you're going to go over to Render and click on Render Animation. Oh, one more thing you have to do. You have to create a composite node. Since it says no render output node in scene, that means you need a composite node. Click Shift A to add, output, and then composite. And you're going to drop it up here and go from the alpha over node to the image. And you go to Render and Render Animation. Once it's finished rendering, you can X out of it and go to your desktop or wherever you saved it, and you can watch the video. Okay. And that is how to fly using Blender 2.8. If you enjoyed the video or learned something, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.